How loud is this? How loud is that? Okay, cool. All right, I'm gonna change the lights. It's not you, it's the lights. Wow, that was assertive. I'm sorry. That feels the right one. That feels like the right one. All right, come on in. I know this is a new building for a lot of us from South Campus to find, so no worries if you're late this first day. Make space for your new friends as they come in, because you are not getting through this class alone, all right? So be that friendly person, because you need partners in this class. So now is your chance to be the community member you want to be. Yeah, okay. All right. Hello, everyone. We are here for CSE 373. I hope you are in the right place. If you are not, no shade. I will just assume if you leave, it's because obviously you're in the wrong place and not because I'm going to terrify you with what we're about to learn. Cool. Okay. In the grand tradition of the first day of the quarter, we're going to do all that really exciting syllabus stuff. And then I jammed in some real learning at the end because I'm still delusional and I'm convinced that you can learn a little bit on the first day. It's never gone well, but 7th time's a charm? I don't know. All right. Okay. Oh, yeah, here's our wonderful agenda. All the slide decks will have these because I know that some of you may not hear anything I say and that you will come later to the slide deck, and this slide is for you then. Okay. Okay, hi, hello, nice to see everyone. My name is Casey Champion. I use she, her pronouns. I am so delighted to have all of you here in CSE 373, Data Structures and Algorithms for Non-Majors. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie, this is a tough class, okay? I know every professor is like, my class is the toughest, my class is the most important, blah, 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 okay? I am not that delusional. I do not think this is necessarily the most important class, no matter whom you are, but it is the most important class I took in undergrad, so which is why it is my absolute favorite to teach now that I have returned. This class moves pretty fast. That's the thing. We are going to attempt to do in 10 weeks what almost every other university in North America does in a full semester. That's because this thing called data structures and algorithms has a very specific meaning. And if you are interested in, say, becoming a professional software engineer, working in the tech industry, taking a technical interview, your recruiter will ask you, have you taken data structures and algorithms? And I am going to do my absolute best to make sure that you get to emphatically say yes to that. And that means that you adhere to the standards of what that recruiter means when you say that. On the flip side, if you are like, Casey, I have no interest in being a software engineer. I don't like it. I am a senior quarter informatics major, and this is a requirement that they make us do. I feel you. It's okay. No shade. C's gets degrees, all right? I'm here for you. But you will notice as I talk through this, I do have a bit of a focus on the industry perspective because that's where I come from. I'm going to do my best to speak about it authentically, but whether you are here with that intention as your long-term goal or not, I promise you we're going to learn some crazy cool stuff. First, what matters to be in this class? One, we just came out of some of the weirdest time in history. Times are still weird. Times in the tech industry are very weird right now. So I just will take this moment to say, y'all, you are humans first, okay? Life comes at you fast. Life comes at you weird. I care much more that you are a capable and safe human being than you are a successful student. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where maybe the human part needs a little more support and the student part is suffering, I want you to know you do not have to be embarrassed to come talk to me. I have been there. I know it's weird to come talk to a professor when you feel like you're not doing well, but I just want you to know right away, like, I care way more about your well-being than necessarily like what magical points we assign you on some assignment in this course, okay? Now, if you come to me, I can do things for you, because the other delightful lie that they told all of us in high school is that When you get to university, like, you can't pull this stuff. Like, there's going to be all these rules. And then you got to university, and hopefully you all now know that there is no such thing as a rule. For every rule, there is an exception. That's because we were all made different. I have a lot of policies. I have a lot of exceptions. I will do my best to accommodate you as your unique person to be successful in whatever goal it is that you are after in this course. In order to accomplish that, like I said, this is a hard class. It's going to work fast. So I think it is important that we work together. And that means that all of you right now, congratulations, you are now part of the 373 family. We're going to have a little trauma bonding, all right? That's how we get through school. Yes, indeedy, okay? And so that means that I ask not only of myself and of my TAs, but of you as students, that we always show up with as much patience, as much compassion as we can, and like vulnerability. Things I do not care for, entitlement, and that weird kind of show-offy, insecure nature. Like, I get it. We feel weird. We want to be that person in class that shows off. Do your best. Reflect on those moments and ask yourself, does this question serve the class, or does it serve my ego? Yeah? That's the last I will ever say about it, because I assume none of you are that type of person, and we'll move over and never talk about that again. My goal in this class is, like I said, to teach you about this thing called data structures and algorithms. That does have a meaning. That means we got to talk about a very specific set of things. But really, I teach this class for a very specific reason. Because if it hasn't been clear before 2020, I hope it is incredibly clear now that we live in a reality, in a society whose foundation of connection is technology. Period. Technology holds all of us together, which means I need all of you to understand how technology is built, how the decisions that go into building technology impacts all of us. And maybe some of you shall continue to contribute to building that technology. And even if you don't, hopefully you at least get to be one of those people when we watch those Senate hearings or we watch those Supreme Court cases and we die a little on the inside, you decide, I shall cry BS and I shall do better. Because I have all the faith in Gen Z or whatever generation you happen to have landed in. Cool. Okay. Land acknowledgement. I do want to, of course, formally acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people. We want to make sure that we honor their incredible stewardship of this land, and I do encourage all of you, I do myself, to visit Real Rent Duwamish, and if you are so inclined to pay real rent, I pay real rent every month. Okay, course goals. I already soapboxed about that a little bit, but let's talk about it in more detail. So this class is about really design. You've come out of the 1.4x or the 1.2x series. We've given you instructions on how to use all the tools in the carpenter's tool belt. Now we're talking about how to actually pull those tools out and build new things, which means we're going to be making a lot of trade-off decisions. I know that there are some of you in this class that are like, I love computer science because it's like math. There's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. I'm sorry. This class, guess what? There is almost always going to be at least 2, if not infinite, correct answers. And I care a lot less about the answer and a lot more about how you got me there. So you need to start thinking that this class is a lot more about communication and design than it is about the right answer. All right? So we're going to have to do a lot of analysis. We're going to have to do a lot of compare and contrasting. You're going to have to learn how to advocate for your ideas, all of that sort of good stuff. You're going to have to learn how to critique design, critique code, and of course that last little bit there, technically, the reason I keep bringing up technical interviews is because if you are not familiar, if you are interested in writing code professionally, or say being someone like me that's a PM, we do more of the design work, we do more of the planning work, but we have a CS background, we might ask you in an interview to do some coding. That's called a technical interview. If you ever want, I will soapbox at length about how they are incredibly biased and really broken. In fact, I teach an entire seminar about how broken they are and specifically how you can game the system. So after you finish this class, come talk to me. We'll spend 10 hours talking about it in my seminar. But the reason I bring this up is because if you are interested in doing any of those types of roles, You do not need a computer science degree to do those roles. I do not have a computer science degree. My degree is in electrical engineering. The devs on my team, because I did ask them last week so I could say it, the devs on my team have a CS degree, electrical engineering degrees, there's an art history major, there's a communications majors, we've got a couple biology majors. We are all over the map. And for context, my team, I work at Google. So these are Google engineers. Nobody cares. I didn't even know what their degrees were until I asked them this question so we could have this cute little conversation, okay? But what you do need is, unfortunately, this specific class. This is a class that unblocks you, so if you're talking to a technical recruiter and they say, are you ready to interview? And you will say, yeah, I've finished 373, I'm ready to go. And I'm trying to make sure that when you say that, what you mean is what the recruiter means. There's some topics, we'll get into it, all that stuff. Okay, real quick, I know this question will come up. Wow, y'all like really registered for this quarter extra fast. Shout out to all of you. There may be some of you in this room right now that do not currently have a spot in this course. Unfortunately, because this course is a non-majors iteration, the department does not resource a wait list or overloads. So if you absolutely need this class, and by absolutely need, I mean you are a spring quarter graduating senior, then you can send an email to uGradAdvisor@cs.washington.edu, and those magical humans will take care of business. And maybe they'll CC me, and I'm like, yeah, I want that person, whatever, but that's on you. If you are not a spring quarter graduating senior, then I encourage you to sign up for UW Notify. We're going to do a bunch of real mathy stuff next week, and a bunch of you are going to say, forget this, and a bunch of spots will open up, okay? So stick on the Notify, things will move around. Okay, let's do the syllabus stuff. Oh yeah, okay, like I said, hi, my name is Casey Champion. I issue her programs. You can refer to me as Casey. That is totally fine. They have now decided that we are professors no matter what if we're teaching class, but I am not a research professor here at the University of Washington. In fact, this is my part-time job. My full-time job, I am the technical program manager for Chromebooks in schools. So I can tell my boss, I asked this question, how many of you used a Chromebook in your school at some point? I'm sorry, that's me. Cool. We could talk a lot about that if you're ever curious about it, but yes, I am the technical program manager. I like to think of myself as the COO, which means I have a magical human who dreams up what we're going to build, and then he's like, Casey, go make the devs build it. And by make, he means encourage lovingly. So that's what I do. I do that full time. It does mean I am physically a little less present on UW campus. It also means that my turnaround time on email might be a little bit slower. I've got like 3 email inboxes and technically 52 million users I'm trying to service in the other side of my life. But we have an incredible, incredible TA staff that are so wonderful, and honestly, I would be a hot mess without them. So they will make sure that if you need to speak to me, you can speak to me. We'll talk about all the different ways in which you can make that happen. For, I guess, funsies, previously I was at a startup called Carrot, where I was the director of interview content. I specifically wrote technical interview questions and did a lot of research on which technical interview questions are the most predictive of technical talent. So I do know a lot about the interview thing. It's also why I love this class. I think that's the barrier to entry for that economic opportunity. And then previously I was like a software engineer and a PM and like a bunch of weird stuff at Microsoft. I was there for a long time. That was sort of my first, I hate how they say big girl job, because y'all, I've been working a long time, and trust me, scrubbing toilets was a big girl job. But that was my first white collar job out of school. But before I did that, I was here. I was in electrical engineering, or now electrical and computer engineering. Yeah, thank you, all the nods. My concentration was in embedded systems. So I was here. I also, like, physically have been in this classroom just out of pure interest. Was anybody here in the STEM sub program here in South Seattle? Anybody? Not, okay. I taught high school at Franklin High School for about 7 years. I did the STEM sub program for about 8, and we always had our graduations in this room, so I'm really charmed to be physically here. There's my email. I will have time for you to schedule one-on-ones with me, and you can honestly schedule a one-on-one with me for any reason. I don't understand what you talked about in lecture. I'm struggling with my homework. Things are falling behind. Will you look at my resume? Will you read my cover letter? I've got an interview coming up. Should I sign this offer? Whatever it is, I make this available to all students, current and former, so you're welcome to use that over time. That time will change. I will also have separate office hours, like just for y'all as my 373 students, so you can come in and talk about 373. Oh yeah, and this slide is from back when we were online, and that's my cat because she liked to show off her booty on Zoom. I don't know, maybe we'll Zoom, maybe you'll see her, but she's cute. Okay, syllabus, fun. Okay, so here are sort of the different subsections of this course. We have 3 lectures a week where you will be, I'm sure, tired of hearing my voice. For context, we will record all lectures. All lectures will be posted on Panopto. I will not require that you physically come in person. I know that means this is probably the last I will see of many of your beautiful faces. But I promise you I'm going to work really hard to try coming in person be worth your while. But I'm more of a carrot than a stick when it comes to lecture participation. We will do some design discussions and debates here. I think that debate is really where you learn a lot of the skills. So if you can come in person, it's going to be a good time. Also, a new change this quarter is we also, every week, you will have a written exercise homework. That's not new. But I decided, let's motivate it further. So I promise that starting next week, in every lecture, I will walk through a problem that is almost identical to one of the problems that will be on your exercise homework. It might be identical if I decide to not even bother changing the numbers, but at most it'll probably be I just changed some numbers. So watch those Panopto lectures, come to lecture. This class moves fast, and if you fall behind, it's tough to catch up, no matter how much we try to work together on it. So this is me trying to at least motivate you. Your homework will hopefully be much, much easier if you come to lecture. I also will have some lecture polls, answer this multiple choice question. What are your thoughts on this? There's also a Q&A feature associated with it. Historically, I've done this thing where I will leave those polls open, so if you're an online watcher, you don't have to physically be here to answer the polls, but if you answer, I think we will have 28 lectures this quarter. I can't remember the exact number, I will figure it out, but if you answer like 26 polls or something like that, I will reserve the right to give you a little bit of extra credit for participation, just for staying on top of things, and that means I will be able to round your grade up by 0.05. That's because in the grade book, I can only give you, say, like a 3.1 number. So if I use that, I can theoretically, hopefully, round you up to the next number if you participate fully. Like I mentioned, there will be weekly exercises. I think there's officially going to be 8 of them. There will be some amount of written work that you do. My current plan is to have 4 problems per week. 3 of those problems being ones we do in one of the lectures, and then one of those problems being something that we use to help you prepare for the assessments. Those will be completed individually. They will be submitted via Gradescope. We will also have some programming assignments. I think we officially have a total of 5, 0 through 4. Those, however, can be in groups of up to 3. I say of up to 3 because if you are right now clenching any particular muscle because you hate working in groups, you don't have to work in groups, okay? I know I didn't feel comfortable that way, but here is my pitch, all right? The people who unfortunately do not cross the 2.0 line in this course, I usually go back and do a double review just to make sure because I don't like failing people. I have never encountered somebody who failed this class that was a partner on a project. They are almost always solos. So please look around you, smile, make eye contact, introduce yourself. The weather is beautiful. It's easy small talk, okay? Go to office hours. This class will having a partner will make this class a lot easier, I promise. We will have 2 assessments. I change this every quarter because I hate exams, y'all. I thought with the COVID that we were done with this whole like in-person time thing, and me and the professors, we've debated it ad nauseum, but here's where I've landed, okay? We are going to have 2 assessments. They will be in class here, one on the Friday of week 5, which is 428, and one on the Friday of week 9, which is 526. They will be mostly design style work. I will ask you to synthesize, give me some explanations, that sort of stuff. You will see plenty of example problems. And then we will take your exam, we will grade it, we will give it back to you, and then you can resubmit that exam with whatever corrections you want and earn up to half the points back that you missed. My goal with this is so that you can breathe a little bit easier, that you don't have to be at your absolute best perfect self on these 2 particular days. You kind of get a make-up chance at it, but also like I need to know if you individually have crammed the stuff into your noggin. And then we have office hours because the TAs are wonderful. They are there to answer any questions about course content, the exercises, the programming assignments, all of that good stuff. I'll also have office hours. They will be kind of scattered around. We'll have a calendar, so you'll need to check where they are. I've been talking for a hot second. Any questions so far? Yes? Yes? Right now the plan is nothing during finals week then. You will have assignments that are still out and due, but I think at this current moment in time, the plan is that whatever it says on your MyUW, like 2 hours be in this room, forget it. Yes, remember that feeling when you're doing 2 quizzes, okay? Yeah, we're like, ooh, Casey was cool. She canceled the final. Yeah. Ooh, what a good question. How much math do we need to know for this course? Okay. First of all, I will say, 1, I am not good at math, and it will come up, and it would be embarrassing for another human, but I have no shame, so I will just barrel through it in the middle of lecture. We are going to do a lot of what I would call sort of algebraic reasoning. I used to ask you to do that algebraic reasoning on exams, and I've decided nonsense, so I will not ask you to do any math on an exam. I may ask you to do a little bit of algebraic reasoning on those weekly exercises. And when I say algebraic reasoning, I might be like, oh, here's like a y equals mx plus b kind of equation. Can you isolate the terms? Can you do some like algebraic combination of things? But it will be, I will say, I wish I had like a number. To me, it's like less than Calc 124 for sure. Like we're talking algebra. TAs, is that fair? Thank you. We have a thumbs up. Yes. Question. Ooh, good question. Yes, you do have weekly sections. They will be taught by our wonderful TAs. In fact, TAs, can you raise your hands? The ones that are here. There's a few here. There's some in the back. Shout out the MVPs of the course. I promise you they will be hosting those on a weekly basis. They will mostly be to go through problems on the topics that we discuss in lecture, problems that will mirror what's on your weekly exercises, problems that will mirror what's on your assessments. So they're mostly used for prep for you to do well on those assignments and for those assessments. But they will be weekly, yes. Any other questions? Yes? Ooh, good question. No, your partner does not have to be the same for every programming assignment. The way the partners works is we just let you tell us who your partner is in Gradescope. So I'll leave that social dilemma up to all of y'all. You can change it. I don't care. Whatever. Just make sure that you tag your partner on the Gradescope. And like I said, you can go up to 3. Don't come after class and ask me if you can be a group of 4, okay? I said up to 3 because y'all convinced me a 3 instead of 2 like 4 quarters ago. So try to spread the love around, all right? The next question I can anticipate is, does my partner have to be in the same section as me? No, I don't care. Also, technically we don't really do section attendance, so I will leave that up to you and your TA for you to decide how you engage with section. Other questions? Yeah. Ooh, are we going to do any programming fundamentals review? No. I don't have time. We are going to have a programming assignment 0 that, like 5 years ago, was me attempting to do that for you. I'm going to add a little bit more to it now. And so it is an assignment that you will find. The code I'm asking you to write is no more complicated than the code you were asked to write in 143 or in 123. I'm not going to have time to really go over it in lecture, but the TAs are here to help you. So it's a chance for you to like dust off cobwebs and decide if you're really ready to engage with this class. So P0 is a little bit of an attempt, though unfortunately I won't have lecture time to review it with you. I will also say we are going to code in Java in this class. If your background is not in Java, it will be uncomfortable, though not impossible. Listen, we all accomplish great things. But if it's been a while for you since you've done Java, like maybe you took 143 freshman year and got traumatized and now you're a senior, find one of those fresh-faced freshmen that are not traumatized so they have the fresh syntax in their brain. Yeah? Yes?
For the assessments, what if you already know that one of those dates you're not going to be able to?
Ooh, okay. If you have any conflicts with these dates, send me an email immediately. I will also take this moment in time to say I am not great at email. Listen, we all have our strengths, okay? I will be a little slower at email, but when in doubt, send me the email because then I have like a little timestamp that says you had your stuff together even if I didn't have my stuff together, and I will always punish myself harsher than I would ever punish you. So send me that stuff. If you know these are things, we'll figure it out. Yes? Sorry, say that one more time. Oh, quiz sections start this week. So this Thursday, you will have your first quiz section on Thursday. Check my UW for what you're assigned. And to our friend's previous question, it will be 143 review. So there you go. The TAs will do one section's worth of review for you. Wow, these were all really salient questions. Shout out, team. Yeah. I think Maya did update the calendar. Is the calendar on the course website up to date? I think so. I want to say Maya did a good job of updating it. So without having looked at it super closely, I'm sort of inclined to say yes. But give us maybe like till the end of this week after our staff meeting tomorrow to be like absolutely sure of it. Yes? You will find that the programming assignments are very different from the exercises. The exercises will kind of look like midterm questions. They're like, hey, given these numbers, apply this algorithm. Hey, given this data structure and these lines of code, what does it look like afterwards? The programming assignments are like, here's a bunch of code to start with, which I know will be a difference compared to the 1-2x or 1-4x series. And then I will say, implement this data structure, probably using generics, which is also a thing you haven't been taught to do, and we're going to try to learn on Wednesday. So you will find that the content is super different. The programming assignments were originally written to be solo assignments, but I have been running them as group assignments for years now, and I find that that group nature, they tend to end up with a similar in like time investment and difficulty level as the exercises, but they are pretty like disparate formats, if that makes sense. I will also take this moment to say the TAs have to hand grade your exercises because, you know, the limitations of reality, but your programming assignments will be auto-graded, and I've decided, whatever, learn style from somebody else. We can debate style all we want in this class. It is important, okay? Style is important, and it does matter that your code is more readable than it's fewer lines of code. Don't get me wrong, I do agree with that. But I want to debate with you on it, and so there's no style grade in this class. You will have a style checker, but it's an automatic one. You run it, you will know if you're passing the style checker. We also make all of the tests, the automated tests, public, so when you submit your assignment, it'll spit back out a grade, and if you don't like that grade, then fix it and resubmit the assignment until you get the grade that you want. And there's unlimited submissions. Yes? Oh, we will not be using Ed as an IDE. We suggest for you IntelliJ. I really like it. It's a totally professional level IDE. It's also pretty kind to students compared to, say, Eclipse. It's what our TAs will be most comfortable with to support you, but up to you, boo. Like, you want to do it in Eclipse, follow your heart. Murmur, 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 murmur. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Let's see. Oh, yeah, sorry. Style will be essentially 0 portion of your grade. There is an automated style checker, and it just makes sure that you got like indentation and like no single letter or variable names. I think that's like all it really can check kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it maybe forces you to have the comments. I can't actually remember. I should check that. Style is important. You should really care about it. But I'm asking you to care about a lot of things, and I decided that's not a thing I'm going to ask you to care about in this class. Okay. Here, every quarter, somebody is going to put in the anonymous feedback tool, Casey, there's so many different platforms to keep track of in this class. And I'm like, you're right. It drives me crazy. Somebody build a platform that has all of these things, and we'll just do one. But until then, here's the collection. So the class webpage is your one-stop shop, cs.washington.edu/373. If you notice, it'll transform to this quarter, and you can go back in time, and you could look at this exact iteration of the class for the last like 5 years. It looks pretty similar. That's where the lecture slides will be posted. We will link to the Panopto recordings. That's where we will post the instructions for all your assignments. When in doubt, course website. The Canvas is essentially not used in this class except for a grade book. I will try to make sure that your grades are kind of motioning their way over to Canvas, but I just don't really find it that useful, so that might be kind of delayed. You'll probably look in Gradescope for your grades more often than in Canvas. That's also where you can find the Panopto recordings, though. And then we will use Slido. This is going to be my first quarter really using it in lecture. I hear it's better than Poll Everywhere. Tell me how much you hate it, I guess, after the first time. We'll use EdSTEM as our course discussion board, and there also may be the occasional sort of like supplementary lecture content in there. It's not required. I don't care, or not that I don't care. Of course I care. So I'm not going to check that you did anything in that, but I am going to be trying to move a little less of the Casey just lectures at you content out of lecture and into EdSTEM so that we can spend more time debating in class. So EdSTEM might have some content for you, but it'll be new this quarter. Gradescope, that is going to be our primary engagement model. Gradescope is where you're going to submit your exercises. It's going to be where you submit your programming assignments. It's where we are going to upload and then show you your assessment grades, so on and so forth. So Gradescope is really sort of like our big turn-in and assignment collection vehicle. And then GitLab, we are going to be learning how to engage with what we call as a code repository. If you are familiar with something called GitHub, this is the same thing. It's just a different brand. Get it? GitHub, GitLab, same. So that's how we are actually going to be distributing the code to you, because you have to have some starter code for all these assignments. Gone are the days where you start with an empty file, because that does not happen anywhere other than in an intro class, essentially. So in order for us to give you the starter code, we're going to be issuing you GitLab repos. And then it is up to you and your partners to pick one of those repos and collaborate within the repo. The other reason we do this is because then you never lose your work, and I never have to deal with the crazy emails that are like, I was on my partner's machine and it got lost in a windstorm. I don't know. That's maybe too salient. There was a tornado in LA last week, y'all. Weird times. But yeah, you'll be learning how to use Git. And then, of course, there's an anonymous feedback tool. Please feel free. It does go to my boss, so be as salty as you want. I don't know, do you? But I'll post it on the course website. Okay, some turn-in policies. So I still use the late day policy. Everybody here starts with 5 late days. You can use your late days on the programming assignments or on the weekly exercises. A late day means like one free 24-hour period with no late penalty applied. You do not need to email me. You do not need to tell me why you're using it. The reason we do this is because I know life is weird. It comes in ups and downs. Everybody will probably have at least 5 days this quarter where like stuff's a mess, okay? So should you encounter a messy time, use these appropriately. You don't get anything for stockpiling them at the end. It's totally up to you to use them. After you run out of them, there is a little bit of a late penalty applied. You can read more about it on the course webpage. But for context, right now we do have a limitation where you can only use up to 3 late days per assignment. So we will open up the Gradescope turn-in. There will be a due date, and then there will be a close date 3 days after that. If you are going to miss the 3 days after the due date time, please email me before the thing closes. It's a very different conversation if I get an email that's like, wow, things are really going crazy and I need an extension, versus, wow, things really got out of hand and I know this was due last week, what do I do? Okay? Help me help you. Okay, assignments, solo groups of 3s, just for your own edification. Projects are probably going to go out on Wednesday and will be due on Wednesday. Some will be 1 week, some will be 2 week, one will be a 3-week assignment. We will have our first programming assignment go out this Wednesday. That's that review one that I talked about. So you can go on the course webpage now and find that thing I called IntelliJ and see if you can download it and figure it out, all that good stuff. I think Maya already said she was going to offer setup time. Yes. And I promised I would advertise it, and now I don't remember what time she said, but one of our incredible head TAs has offered to even set aside office hours this week for you to come by and get your JDK and your IntelliJ and all that stuff set up. We'll post that probably to the EdStem, which is what I will use for announcements. So do whatever you need to do to make sure those announcements come into your email inbox. With the exams, we have to grade those, and we have to grade them quickly so that you have that time to do that resubmission. So that's not a late submission like the exams. You can't use late days for the resubmissions on the exams or anything like that. Exams are a pretty timely thing. New questions? Any other new questions that have cropped up? Yes?
Do you get any extra credit for unused late days?
You do not get anything for unused late days. So use them wisely. Yeah?
Are exams handwritten?
Yes, the exams will be handwritten. They will also be open paper notes. And I don't care how many notes you bring. If you didn't know, that's a teacher trick. Okay? Like, teachers do this thing where they say open any notes, and y'all are like, wow, what a cool teacher. But we know that means you're going to do less prep than if you had the single note sheet, and you're going to waste all this time flipping through your notes. So even though I'm saying open as many notes as you want, hear me and think I should make a shortened and easy access note sheet. Okay? Teacher trick for you. Yeah. Haha. Any other questions? Yes? Physical paper. Yeah. No electronics. We're in the chat GPT era, okay? I do not live under a rock. So it has to be paper. Yes. Any other questions? Yes. Yes, it can be printed. Yes. You don't have to handwrite your notes. You will be asked to handwrite the exams, though. Cool. Okay. Okay, here's the grade breakdown. Programming assignments, 40%. Written exercises, 30%. So 70% of your grade in this class is stuff that you will show me that you're keeping up with the material on your own time in an, sort of style that is hopefully comfortable to you. The exams, they are equal in weight. They are not what I would call cumulative, but it's kind of one of those things where it's hard for it to not be super cumulative. Like, you're just going to learn stuff that builds on it. But there will be separate topics for exam 1, separate topics for exam 2, so they are worth 15% each. And then, like I mentioned, if you fill out those lecture participation polls, I give myself the leeway to round your grade up to 0.05. Okay, I will. This is the moment where I have to explain what academic misconduct means in this class. I hate this. Do not, just do me a solid, okay, cheat in the other classes, because I hate having to deal with the academic misconduct cases. I know, we all get desperate. Times get weird, okay? But send me a sad email. I'd rather deal with your life than deal with the lawyers in the academic misconduct nonsense, okay? So here's what academic misconduct is, truthfully, to me. If you submit to me pieces of code that you did not participate in writing, that you do not understand, that do not represent your knowledge, that's academic misconduct. That might happen if, say, your friend sends you a file. You find a file on GitHub. Yes, we know you search GitHub for the programming assignments. I also know you search Chegg, okay? And I also know that I don't speak all of the languages that y'all speak. That's why I have a web crawler that does this for me, okay? Like, I know the tricks. I was a student once too. All right? Don't do that. Don't read that stuff. Because also, guess what? I know how to find that stuff, and then I put it into this thing called Moss. And this, it is a really uncomfortable conversation when your programming assignment looks just like this programming assignment I found on the internet. Things don't go well for you, okay? Don't do that, please. Send us an email, talk to a TA instead. I will also say, because this is a funny thing now, ChatGPT, it's a new tool. We don't really know how to use it in schools yet, and we don't really know how to regulate it in schools, but I'm not going to say don't use ChatGPT. It's amazing. We live in the future, okay? Once upon a time, graphing calculators were considered cheating, but now you can spend time learning higher things. So if you say plug stuff into ChatGPT and use what comes out as inspiration, and you absolutely understand every line of code that you submit, and if we have a very intense one-on-one conversation where I ask you to explain every line of code to me, and you can, academic misconduct case erased. I don't care. As long as it's actually in your head, I don't care. But just don't submit stuff that you pull off the internet without looking at it. Also, if you're like, I just changed the variable names, Moss knows that, okay? Changing the variable names is not enough. Changing the order of the methods is not enough. We're too smart for that, okay? All right. Any question? Yeah. If you use old code that you wrote and you understand, yeah, how about it? Sure. Absolutely. I will also say, guess what? We change the assignments very subtly every quarter, in a way that if you turn in something you found online, I will probably be able to know what quarter that assignment was from. And I change what I change every quarter, specifically for this. Casey, why don't you change the assignments every quarter, and then we don't have to have this conversation? Because you know how many hours goes into each of these assignments? There is not enough hours in the day to write a new assignment every quarter. We'd be dead. Okay, great. Accommodations, extraneous circumstances, like I said, please, the sooner you reach out to me, the better. If you have a lot on your plate, you really need to pass this class, you have a specific goal out of what you're trying to get out of here, you have something in the way, you've got Friday capstones, and that means you're going to miss these exams. I'm sorry, info, I know. Send me an email. We will figure it out, okay? Okay, great. 413, great. Any other questions? Okay. Let's learn for 7 minutes. Wow, this is always how this goes, past Casey. Okay, so out of pure interest, how many of you took 143 as your prerequisite? Okay, I assume so. Okay, no shade, of course. How many of you took 123 as your prerequisite? Oh, look at y'all, like we're sitting side by side. I like this. Okay. I'm going to use them interchangeably. They are a replacement for one another. So here's my analogy for this, okay? 121, 122, 142, you're learning a brand new language. You're learning a way to think that's totally different than the way you've learned to think. And how do we learn new languages? Flashcards, right? Memorize these words. You got to have some words to use it. 123, 143, now you're starting to learn how to put those flashcards together. How do I combine those words? How do I learn some grammar? Okay? But by the end of 143, I sort of expect you to be able to sort of like write in sentences in this new language. Like I expect you to maybe be able to sort of like express some basic thoughts. This class assumes you have the vocabulary, assumes you have the grammar, but this class is poetry, baby. We're here to do some creative writing, okay? We're here to debate. There is no single right answer. You could all have the right answer. You could all convince me of it. And if you're like, Casey, that doesn't sound like computer science, guess how weird it is when you get into a dev room and then you all debate about what the code should actually do. And it is very clear who took my class, okay? Because if anything, I want you to win that argument, okay? Yes, there are winners and losers in corporate America, and it is not fair, but If I can't, I'll teach you to be a winner. Okay, let's see. So a few definitions for us. So the basic things the basic building blocks of what we're going to be learning in this class, it is called data structures and algorithms. Data structures, that is just a specific implementation of how you take a large collection of related pieces of information and stick them together. For example, you've already learned the data structure array. That takes a bunch of the same data type and just puts them in a linear sort of collection, right? That is what we would call a data structure. We're going to learn a bunch of them that explodes that out in a bunch of different ways. Algorithms are just a set of instructions, a set of precise instructions that can be followed by a computer. A baking recipe is an algorithm. Directions for how to get from here to the hub are an algorithm. We're going to be talking about a bunch of different algorithms that tell computers to do amazing things and how you can apply those in different ways. But this is what we're talking about, how to collect data together, and then how to perform instructions on that data to get the answer that you want. Okay, this is a review. Remember that we have a difference between client classes. Those are the things with the main method. That's what you execute. And objects. Objects have constructors. They are like the tools in your toolbox. The client class is like the conveyor belt where you're doing your work, or wherever, the work table, something like that. Okay, great. We're going to get here. Okay, so what we're really going to do this week specifically is we are going to dive in and define this thing that you've kind of already been using, but Brett was like, Casey, don't do it to them. And so I didn't put it in 123. We're going to be talking about the ADT, or the abstract data type. The abstract data type is a computer science collective agreement about what this word means in terms of functionality. That word may be list. That word may be map. That word may be stack. That word may be queue. And then the list of things that we as computer scientists have agreed do that thing. Actually, they were invented in 1974 by Barbara Liskov, who is actually the first woman to ever earn a PhD in computer science. She is still a professor at MIT and a real badass. She also won the Turing Award, which is like the Nobel Prize, but like harder to get. And she specifically did this thing because once upon a time, everyone was like, oh, hardware's where it's at. You just write hardware for every individual type of computer. Also, this was a time when men thought hardware was the cool thing, and they were like, oh, software is for ladies. That's a real thing, y'all. Guess who inverted that? Bill Gates. Bill Gates was actually the first man that was like, actually, I think software is where we're going to put all of our investment. Man said it, and then we believed it. Okay. But really, the point of the abstract data type is how do we think not so much about how we write code for a specific computer, but we think about how we write code to do specific things. And we let people decide on which computer they're going to do that thing. It was a huge revelation, a huge transition in how we thought about software. So that's why we learned about it. Okay, so here is an ADT I expect you to already be familiar with, though you may have not thought of it as an ADT. The list. The list is an ordered sequence of elements that each have an index. So I need to be able to get the item given a specific index. I need to be able to add or insert at a specific index and shift everything over, maintaining order. Here is my interface of it. Oh, okay, great. Sorry, I moved my slides around a little. But here, I love this image of it. It's just a collection of things. They are an ordered sequence. It's a linear sequence. If you want to interrupt anything in the middle, you got to shift and do all that stuff. You can add on the end. You can remove. If you notice, I have not said a single word about how to do that. I am just talking about what it needs to do. You can formalize this list of what it needs to do as an interface. That's probably how you learned it in Java, which is literally just a collection of method headers, not the method implementations. That's what we're talking about. It is about what you can do with it, not how you do it. So what I'm going to constantly ask you in this class is, what do you need to do? Pick the right ADT, and then I'm going to ask you, for this specific scenario, What is the best way to accomplish that thing? You can read more about interfaces. Here's some more that you've encountered. The distinction between ADT and data structure becomes very important. So like I said, you've met the array data structure. You could implement a list with the array data structure. You could also implement a stack with the array data structure. You could also implement a queue with the array data structure. The array is the data structure, the thing, how you do it. If the abstract data type is the vehicle, then the data structure is the car or the bike or the plane. Yeah? Okay, I'm going to consider that you learned something. Check, we were successful. Thank you all so much for being here. Keep your eyes on the EdSTEM for announcements and come back on Wednesday because you know you had a good time. I promise we'll do fun stuff in lecture. I'll stick around for questions.